Welcome to the Produce Moms Podcast, where we believe there is a produce mom in all of us. I'm Lori Taylor, founder and CEO of the Produce Moms. For 10 years, I sold fresh produce to over 300 grocery stores in the U.S. And today, my team and I are fully focused on inspiring people to eat more fruits and vegetables. This show is just one of the ways that we hope to inspire you and your family to eat more produce and live a better life. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, join our community of almost 40,000 in all 50 states and over 30 countries by visiting theproducemoms.com/subscribe. And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. Thanks for being here. Enjoy today's show. Welcome back, everyone. This is the Produce Moms Podcast. My name is Lori Taylor. So happy to be your host. So happy to welcome today's guest. We are joined today by Ashley Nickle. She is the retail editor of the Packer newspaper. She's also editor-in-chief of PMG Magazine, two highly respected trade publications that have been a part of the produce industry for I mean, Ashley, help me out. How long? I feel like the Packer's been around for 100 years.
It actually has been around. We just celebrated our 125th anniversary this last year.
Okay. So, all right. So Ashley is not 100. She's not been there the whole time, obviously.
Correct.
But Ashley she's a well-respected journalist that's focused on the produce industry, doing our trade media. She's been, like I said, focused on the retail sector for 4 years now, with her role at the Packer, Farm Journal, and now PMG Magazine. So, Ashley, I'm so glad you're here. The reason I wanted to bring you on the show is obviously because we as a industry, as a consumer society, everything has been so disrupted due to COVID-19. And I thought no one better than you to really get, set the record straight here and shed some light on what's happened in this, as our industry has really just had a seismic shift.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks so much for having me on, Lori. I sure appreciate it. It's been, I've talked with a number of folks who've been in the retail industry for 20, 30, 40 years, and I've asked all of them, is there anything that comes even a little bit close to comparing what this is like? And the answer has been a resounding no. This is the first ever one-of-a-kind situation that everyone is dealing with right now.
Right. Isn't that the truth? So, the world, I think the biggest shift that I want to make sure we understand, well, I think everyone in our industry understands it, but I really want to emphasize it to all of our end consumer listeners. And that is the industry, the produce industry. We were pretty much classically split 50-50 between food service and retail. Mm-hmm. And within about a 3-day time span and 1 week's time, our industry went from that 50-50 classic split to essentially 100% of our food now being needed and directed to retail. And the whole supply chain having to shift like that just created, it's just unprecedented. I know we keep using that term, but it's like the best term that we can use.
Yeah, it's been wild for sure, because I don't know that anybody expected restaurants to be essentially all but shut down. The places around here, I'm based in the Kansas City area. The places around here, they still have, your carry out and delivery options. But obviously for restaurants that didn't have those kind of services really established before all this happened,
right.
Where people are used to going because they want to sit down and be waited on and have a nice meal out, they're not necessarily going back to those places. And so overnight, a lot of places try and shift their business model completely, obviously. So now they're trying to do carry out only, or delivery and carry out only. And that, of course, has left a lot of those folks who order produce or, other food items. All of a sudden they're having to go back and say, hey, sorry guys, I got to cancel that order because I don't have the business to use this product anymore. So it's really, It's been a reverberation throughout that whole supply chain. And as you mentioned, we're seeing a lot of different items get diverted where originally they were intended for food service. And now maybe they get routed to retail. We've seen some collaboration between the retail and food service sides of the business in terms of, hey, I as a restaurant or I as a food service distributor can't take this product anymore. Can you use it over here? Or the folks who are transporting produce to those different restaurants don't have, the same business that they would. Well, can we redirect those folks to independent retailers? So, 1, 2, 3, 10 store chains versus the big chains of the world to help them out and stay supplied. Sure. Their stores full. So it's turned everything on its head. It really has.
It definitely has. And, one thing that we have noticed at the Produce Moms is a content platform that's focused on, education and inspiration surrounding fresh fruits and vegetables. We've seen a huge spike in the organic traffic to our website, as well as our first-time visitors to the website. I mean, people really are cooking at home in a way they never have before. I mean, so knowing that the way that the world is cooking in a way consumers never really have, what effects is this having on retailers, and how are retailers responding?
Well, it kind of folds into the measures that they're needing to take overall right now to make sure that as much as possible, they ensure that the grocery store is a safe place. I mean, we've seen all the different measures like stores shutting down early in the evening so that they can take, hours and hours to do a deep clean on the store, to restock the shelves, make sure everything's ready to go for folks each day. Hand sanitizer stations near the grocery carts when you walk in the store. We've seen some folks doing one-way aisles so that you're not two people pass in opposite directions with their carts and get close to each other. My husband and I went shopping the other day, and actually there was a sign at the front of the store that said, please, only one person per cart. They really don't want groups going shopping together. So all that to say, that's kind of the context of all the extra things that retailers are needing to do right now just to try and keep it a safe environment. And then on top of it, it's how do you address, like you said, people wanting to buy a lot more than they usually would from the grocery store to cook at home.
Yeah. And I mean, it sounds like, I think that we have started to see some of the huge surge that consumers were having, week after week sales that were similar to Thanksgiving is what our growers were, some of our growers were seeing. And I think that that's starting to balance out a little as people are realizing that, they have food at home, and B, I think, and B, and this is the nod to our industry, B, they're realizing that our supply chain, we got this under control. I mean, the stores are getting restocked. They are able to purchase what they need. And oftentimes in such a simple format where they can just do like a curbside pickup or even have it delivered right to their home.
It really is astounding how well the supply chain has weathered all of this, because you think about, like you said, all of a sudden there's like Thanksgiving type demand for 2 to 3 weeks, just staying nonstop.
And out of nowhere at that. I mean, no one was ready with staffing, and that doesn't just, and we're not just talking about the retailer folks, like that goes back to the packing sheds and the loading docks and it's the whole supply chain all the way down to the farmer. People weren't, there's no way you can be ready for that. The world changed overnight,
Absolutely. And what's really amazing is we talked to a number of different suppliers of different commodities. So everything from potatoes and onions, which were some of the ones that saw big, huge increases in demand, of course, and a little bit longer shelf life. So potatoes, onions, berries, bananas. We talked to a lot of the different folks who grow and ship those commodities this last week to see, okay, there was all this crazy increased demand. Now, how are supplies looking for the coming months? And what's amazing is for pretty much everything other than like maybe potatoes, looks fine. There's plenty of it, because it's just, here in the US, we are really fortunate to just never really think twice when we go to the store, is exactly what I want going to be there? Because the answer is pretty much always yes.
Right.
And this last month of March was really kind of the first big, huge interruption of that. And now it's, you'll still see a few gaps when you go in the grocery store, I think more in like canned and frozen and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
As far as produce, I mean, most places that I've walked into recently have just a beautiful, almost normal selection of produce.
Right. No, I agree. And we want people eating more fruits and vegetables. I mean, we know we've published a lot of content on the producemoms.com,
Yes.
sourcing other experts within our industry, leading food scientists throughout the United States. I want everyone to know, if you haven't already seen it on the producemoms.com or through one of the government websites or a notable trade media website like the Packer or PMG magazine, you guys, COVID-19 is not transmitted through food or food packaging. And that is the position of the FDA. That is the position of Canada, as well as Europe. And, our industry is, to Ashley's point earlier, the stores are doing everything they can to maintain proper sanitation at point of sale. So definitely continue to purchase your fresh produce, eat it with confidence, and lean on us in the industry if you need inspiration or have any questions about it.
That's a great point, Lori. And I thought it was awesome, actually. The Frank Yanis with the FDA, who before he was the FDA, he was the vice president of food safety for Walmart. So when you think about the importance of food safety, and then you have enormous global company who half their business comes from food, half their dollars come from those food and grocery sales. So, someone with that background ensuring food safety at a place like that's a big job. And now with the FDA, and he recorded a video saying exactly what you said, Lori, that you're totally fine eating fresh produce. You just wash it with water like you normally would. And, especially during this time, everybody really wants to be as healthy as they can be. You have that immune system as strong as it can possibly be. Mm-hmm. And there's no better way to do that, of course, than eating lots of fruits and vegetables.
Right. No, it's good for the body, mind, spirit. And hey, it's good for the business too, for people like us that, our passion and livelihood here is rooted in this stuff, folks. So eat more of it. It's great to hear your insights on it. And, just the overall, it's just a resounding message for everyone. And it's so important. We can't say it enough. So thank you, Ashley, for sharing that. And, I didn't realize that about our FDA. Is it a secretary position or FDA director?
I'm trying to think what his official title is. It's something along the lines of Deputy Commissioner of Food Safety or something.
So the boss, the guy in charge. All right.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's great. So thank you for sharing that. I didn't realize that. I saw the video. I didn't realize his background though. So that's awesome.
Yeah, we spoke with him a lot about blockchain and Walmart experimenting with that.
I bet. Yeah. Well, that's great. So Ashley, your job has, you've met so many and reported on so many of the big moments in the grocery industry. What is, what's one of those stories or moments that really sticks out to you as a produce industry journalist?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think, first of all, hearing from the retailers who, first of all, were so kind to take time in probably one of the busiest times of their careers to share with us. These are a couple things that we're seeing back to us for articles in the midst of everything. Cause I know that was not a small ask, even to be like, have like a few minutes. Can you just let us know, to help us let the industry know kind of what people are seeing on the front lines out there. So that was a impactful moment in this for me. The other thing that we're looking forward, it'll be interesting to see as the panic buying subsides, but then as, like you said, people are cooking more at home and they've got their kids at home the whole time and all that. Yeah. What is sort of that new baseline for produce sales, at least for right now, is everybody, we have a lot of people working from home, kids at home, that sort of thing. And then as the economic ramifications of all this kind of come down the pike in the coming months, how does that affect produce sales? So that's another that we're not exactly sure how it will play out long term. But I was talking with Steve Letts over at Category Partners the other day, and he mentioned, that's another thing that we just don't know quite how it's going to play out yet. But as we talked about the food service sector and all the restaurants that have been closed and that sort of thing, that may have a material impact also. So that's kind of one of the things to watch going forward.
Sure. Wow. Yeah. And you just can't emphasize enough how important all of, I mean, it's so important when we think about all those things, how, and maybe important's not really the right word. It's just, it's mind boggling to me how in just a very short amount of time from a virus, like so much has changed. Everything has changed. Yes. Nothing's the same. Yet some things are so back to the basics, like home cooking. You know what I mean? Like 100%. Some things are back to the timeless nature of almost what they were intended to be. While then some things are like, will we ever go back to what it was? I don't know. And that's to be determined, and, we'll see what happens. But one thing I do know is that this industry, the produce industry, the way we're just unstoppable together is how I feel. I have never been more proud to work in agriculture than I am right now. And, we have gone through a lot in the 2 decades that I've been part of this industry. There have been, serious outbreaks from a food safety perspective. There have been wildfires. There have been, labor strikes. I mean, you name it. Like, there's been all sorts of things.
Yes.
The way the industry came together and collaborated and made sure that, we were going to mobilize food. We were going to make sure that everyone from children that are dependent on USDA school meals still have fresh food offerings to, people that were always dining out. They're going to have what they want at grocery retail. It's really just amazing.
It really is pretty staggering when you think about just how quickly everybody was able to make really massive changes to their organizations and their business models. Even looking at the wholesale community, how for a lot of them, a lot of their sales come from food service.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And that's where I worked. Did you know that, Ashley? I worked at wholesale distribution for 10 years.
I don't know. I'm trying to remember which, I think grower shipper was more where I associated you with in my mind, but this was probably that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So for 10 years, and that's actually where I started the Produce Moms. It was work for hire when I was marketing manager at Indianapolis Fruit Company, but I sat at the sales desk at Indy Fruit for 10 years. And it was really the first thing I thought of when I saw restaurants shutting down was, oof. Oh my gosh, my colleagues sitting at the desk at Piazza Produce, because that was our sister company, and it still is. They are still sister companies today. Mm-hmm. And then on the flip side, how crazy it would have been taking care of grocery retailers and getting their, you know what I mean? Like, yes. I thought a lot about my colleagues at wholesale distribution, and it is amazing what they've done. The direct to consumer sales, the leadership that's emerged in our industry through, the ProAx and the produce alliances of the world. It's just, I don't know. It's the values of agriculture, though. When you get down to brass tacks, it's like, this is what we are. We're resilient, and nothing stops our industry. No natural disaster of any kind, whether it's weather related or food safety related or, a virus.
Yeah. Well, and that is one thing that I've said a couple times since this started is as challenging and, constantly changing as all of this is, there isn't a better industry to be prepared for this in terms of folks who are used to circumstances constantly changing and adapting to what they get and dealing with what's thrown at them with, fruits and vegetables. Obviously, Mother Nature is always a factor, and, you have the markets and just supply and demand and consumer expectations changing. And this is different than all those other things, but certainly as far as a group that is prepared to respond quickly and just be resilient in the face of whatever comes at them. That's the produce industry.
Yes. Isn't that the truth? It's so true. So you know what? we're closing in on our time here, Ashley, but I want to make sure that we have an opportunity to kind of talk about those champion moments. I'm saying we're, like together unstoppable. It's the sentiment I'm saying. As a member of the press, you're reporting on all the goodwill, the trials, the tribulations, but also all the goodwill. So tell our listeners today a little bit more about, some of maybe the silver lining side of, what you're reporting on. Like there's a lot that you're probably reporting on that breaks your heart, but, or just makes you like, gosh, I wish that, people didn't have to deal with this right now. You know what I mean? But what are some of those moments that warm your heart that you've been reporting on as it relates to COVID-19?
Well, I think one instance that just, for me, kind of exemplifies all the different partnerships, new partnerships even, that are happening because of this. I saw that the United Fresh Produce Association and the National Grocers Association got together basically to partner either businesses that kind of had too much to deal with or not enough to deal with, depending on whether they're on the food service or the retail side, to kind of connect those companies that maybe wouldn't traditionally work together, but now one has, more capacity than they need and the other one has not enough capacity. So obviously the National Grocers Association is made up of independent supermarkets. So, it can be smaller, family owned. I think it's normally 100 stores or fewer with those folks. And then the United Fresh Produce Association, of course, advocates for the industry in Washington, D.C., and also just kind of a great resource on all kinds of trends and information, both on the retail and food service side. So with the connections that both those groups had, they were able to kind of tell their members, hey, let us know, what your specific challenges are. We're talking to these folks over here. Mm-hmm. May be able to match you up. So a food service distributor that has had a lot of orders canceled because they serve schools or restaurants, a lot more than retail. They may be able to deliver to an independent supermarket who maybe has had trouble, getting enough deliveries to meet demand, since demand overall has been so widespread across retail, especially those first weeks of the. So that's been something cool, is just seeing these innovative partnerships spring up just to meet the need as we go forward.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it. Well, Ashley, it's been an uplifting dialogue with you. As always, it's a pleasure to connect with anyone that's, a member of the press, keeping us all informed. Sometimes it's a thankless job, but I'm going on record thanking you today for all that you do. It really is important. Yeah. I mean, I really appreciate it. I read the emails that are sent. It's part of my daily routine. You know what I mean? And it allows me to, the trade press empowers me to be a better advocate for the industry, because we're able to identify the current events, the pain points, and evolve as a solution for our fellow stakeholders in produce. So it means a lot. But yeah, thanks for all that you do.
Oh, well, thank you, Lori. I sure appreciate the kind words. And if I could just add one more thing, I'm sitting at my kitchen table and I'm looking at my collection of random glass bottles with flowers in them. I would be I didn't give a shout out to the floral industry amidst all this, because as we saw those first few sets of numbers from early in the crisis, you saw, kind of food purchases rising and floral just falling because, everyone's going and focused on what they consider necessities and kind of forgetting about their flowers. And after I saw a little bit of the mainstream press around that, I was looking at my grocery store and just saw the most beautiful flowers. And so I picked up a bunch of them and have them sitting just over the top of my computer screens here. And you wouldn't think that something that simple would really brighten your day, but it really does. So just shout out to our floral folks there who are also part of the produce industry.
Thank you for saying that. It is so true. And my heart does break because floral is such a big part of the hospitality industry and the event industry, all of which has just been shut down. And,
yes.
Even unfortunately, even moments in life, like, weddings and funerals aren't happening, so it's really, it's been a tremendous, just a challenge for everyone in floral. I'm glad you said that because they absolutely need our support. And if you're listening today, mail flowers to a loved one. They're still doing, the industry is still doing deliveries. Pick them up next time you're grocery shopping. Bring that joy into your home the same way that, Ashley brought it into hers. Well, that being said, Ashley, I must thank you once again for being our guest. And like all the shows here at the Produce Moms, you actually get to say goodbye to our listeners today and any closing words you might have.
Well, I just want to thank you again, Lori, for bringing me on. It's a pleasure to talk to you as always. And my only last word would be just, it's really kind of a unique, I know this is a difficult situation overall for everyone, but it is kind of a unique time for the produce brands out there to really be able to deliver things to consumers, especially parents, during this time that they've kind of always had available. But their prominence is just increased right now with everyone having kids at home. Like yourself, Lori, so many people who have become homeschool teachers overnight in addition to their actual jobs. And so many folks we've talked to in the last week or two have all kinds of neat resources out there for kids, whether it's, produce themed crossword puzzles or coloring pages or science projects, just really neat things that the industry has available. And in addition to kind of supporting, people through their actual products like they always have and will continue to do, but some neat resources that are out there for folks at home. And it's, I was talking to folks and, a supermarket is kind of just a supermarket until something big happens. And then everybody recognizes that, they really are community institutions, and the folks that are out there every day working in the stores still while many of us are at home. It's really amazing. It's really remarkable, and they're doing really important work. So it's been great to be able to kind of catalog those efforts as we go through.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Produce Moms Podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a featured guest, just send an email to lori@theproducemoms.com. We know there is a produce mom in you because there's a produce mom in all of us. Join our community on Facebook and all social platforms. Help us change the way America eats. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.